Welcome to another CIRF report. This one is for January 9th through the 15th, 2025. Of course, right smack dab in the middle, a full moon in Cancer. And we have some really interesting alignments to go over, but a very big week. In my family, we're getting into birthday season. All right. Where do we begin? This is our overview for the influence. We're going to do this again for the solution. And by the way, I have a new type of format for the solution. It's going to look the same, but I'm going to be doing it a little bit different. And I want your feedback. So hang out for towards the end. But the influence is important so we know what to look for energetically. And astrologically, you've got the full moon, of course. The full moon just happens to be conjunct with Mars in Cancer. Mars is in retrograde. That'll be important. And then at the end of the week, you'll have Sun oppose Mars. That'll go exact. But we have Venus square Jupiter. We have Sun trine Uranus. So this happens, this goes exact on the day of the full moon. So there's a lot of change introduced in here, even though all the attention is over here in Cancer with the full moon. All right, the Dreambot says experiential knowing, which to me means like gnosis, or the Gnostics talked about, not just blindly believing, but and not needing physical evidence, but more of I've been there and I know because I've experienced it. Experiential knowing. We can talk more about that if necessary. And then the I-Ching just says determination. And right off the cuff, I mean, you look at Sun in Capricorn, it totally makes sense. But on the other end of this full moon, this opposition is Mars in starting really early on in the week. The whole week, we got Sun oppose Mars. Never mind the full moon. But anyway, so there is a strong determination when you look at this continuum. So all in all, I have with the experiential knowing, the Mars aspect to this, the change is the illuminated guardian. The pretty high congruency score kind of looks like a football, but it's all based on this continuum between Capricorn and Cancer. All right, time to get started. And a huge shout out to Claudia. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. You won the best comment award. And sorry that you have been going through some hard times, man. But I'm glad the ABC discussion from last week was of help. How did that go, by the way? And also for all the comments, I was blown away by these comments. If you commented, thank you. That meant a lot to me. And even the shock comment, all the comments. I love all you guys. All right. Where do I go? We want the Dreambot now. Here's the Dreambot. And here's the confirmer, at least for me, that the Dreambot is working correctly. So our first full week in from the Dreambot's perspective, all the dreams have been in 2025, and so a huge surge score. That makes sense. January also is up there. Okay, so check. That makes sense. But as far as the meme goes, it's about think and feel, and when you put those together, you get experience, and you get knowing. You know, you find out. You have the word experience, precognition. You have a linguistics that says people skip information. So the linguistics to me confirms that we're not going to just take the material that they want us to read and take it for face value and call that truth. We're going to go experience the world and experience truth. And here's another linguistics that says also verify much weird things. I think it's in the mass collective. They're already starting to see weird things. All right, where do I go next? Astrology, the eclipse cycle, we're still right about in the middle. We've got the full moon in Cancer. On this one, obviously on the 13th, there's the full moon in Cancer by merit of the sun being in Capricorn. And I want you just to notice here, there's a lot of 14s, 13s right in the full moon time frame. There's a lot happening. Venus square Jupiter there, and Sun trine Uranus, and we're going to cover all those and quite a bit more. Here's your energy chart. This is the illuminated guardian, or this is the Capricorn Cancer opposition continuum energy that escalates all the way up to Monday. This is when the full moon happens, but also the Sun trine Uranus. And then it stays heightened because of the Sun continues its climax towards Sun opposed Mars. And that goes exact on Wednesday. So it stays elevated all week. All right, here are the things that we're going to talk about. First, let's just kind of back up, zoom out. What we want on these charts is not particularly a hyper focus on one alignment. We kind of want to get an idea for what the whole thing feels like together. That's the goal. And in order to do that this week, we have to acknowledge all these alignments. So first, you've got the Sun in Capricorn. Then you've got the Sun trine over to the Moon. That makes the Moon waxing gibbous. And waxing gibbous is that period of time between the first quarter moon and the full moon. And the moon from here this week will progress into Cancer and conjunct with Mars to get to that full moon state. And that'll happen this week. But right now, on Thursday, the 9th, you have the moon over Uranus in Taurus, changing emotional content. Then you have a far different energy with Pluto oppose Mars. And then you have the Jupiter retrograde squaring Venus exalted in Pisces. And then finally, you've got Mars trine Neptune. This is the ability to really care about something, but also going and getting it done, like creating your dreams, manifesting dreams. But it is more of a quieter time for Mars. There's a lot of continuums in this energy, and you have also got the practical thinking Mercury and Capricorn. You got a balancing act between stability and change. That's this. Emotions and ambitions. There's a lot of water here. In fact, water and earth are at the top of the signature in the background. And you've got pragmatic versus intuitive. The Sun trine Uranus suggests a harmonious flow between the desire for structure and the need for innovation. This is where the soul invents a new version of self. And this is where the determination originates. So change happens first. Get really familiar over the course of the days with this new self. And then now we can be a lot more determined because we know ourselves. This is the experiential knowing from the Dreambot. And in the full moon, Kung Pao being determined with the illuminated guardian energy. All right, the Pluto opposing Mars is a tension between transformation and emotional security. The Jupiter and Venus is the layer of challenge in balancing intellectual pursuits. It's Jupiter and spiritual connection. Venus in Pisces is exalted and wants to be one with the other. So boundaries tend to go away or be very difficult. It's very difficult to even acknowledge boundaries with Venus in Pisces. While Mars in Cancer trine Neptune, enhances intuition and emotional resilience. We're going to talk in depth about that one. And Mercury in Capricorn brings the grounded, practical approach to communication and decision making. On Friday, the focus is much more on the Venus. Venus is conjunct with Saturn, squared off to Jupiter and the Moon. So less focus on creating self and more on intellectual pursuits, but related to foundation, structure, limitations in relationships. All right, now on Sunday the 12th. Oh, by the way, I'm skipping Saturday the 11th only because we got so many more charts to focus in on. I warned you about the 13th and 14th. But on Sunday the 12th, this is when Mars and Neptune go exact. And this is important because it suggests a time of deep emotional and spiritual reflection, but also assertion. So it's discovery. So Mars trine Neptune is about going alone and getting some details, getting maybe not truth, but insights, possibilities, brainstorming, and you figure it out. That is a perfect match to our rave reading that we're going to have a little bit later. So synergistic there. But this energy, this trine, is about slowing down, turning inward, while in the sensitive, nurturing, well, Mars is in the nurturing sign of Cancer. And trine over to Neptune. Neptune is in its home of Pisces. It amplifies the themes of intuition, compassion, and divine inspiration. What does that sound like? Experiential knowing. You can experience not in the physical realm, and that's what this experience is. Experience is knowing, and especially in the spiritual realm. So instead of it being woo-woo and otherly and dreamy, it can be very real, as most of you probably know. In this energy, you'll have increased emotional awareness and empathy, potential for profound spiritual insights, a deepened connection to one's inner world and your soul purpose. Possible archetypes here: the nurturing mystic birthing new emotional paradigms, or more simply, the spiritual seeker, the wounded healer, the inspired artist, the empathic nurturer, the intuitive guide. Sort of sounds remarkably similar to the illuminated guardian, doesn't it? That is going to be here on the 13th. Okay, so for the 13th, there's a couple of reasons why I have two charts on Monday the 13th that most of you already know. The full moon is happening on the 13th. So why are we talking about a different chart? Well, because this is powerful. This is a needed discussion because Sun trine Uranus is a big one. It goes exact at 2:13 a.m. on the 13th. And it's very profound. It's a harmonious flow of stability and structure over to the need for innovation, change, and freedom, liberty. The soul just wants to be free. And this is in the material world, the grounded, practical world of Taurus and Capricorn. It's a time of grounded progress where unconventional approaches can be integrated into existing structures and leadership systems in a practical and tangible way. You might feel or see innovative advances in career or financial matters. We might see developing unique approaches to liberty and even security. That one, according to Ron Paul, is on an opposition continuum, a teeter-totter. And when you get more security, you get less freedom. But I think in this alignment, you're going to have the irony or the paradox of the ability or the perception of having both at the same time. I'm not calling Ron Paul a liar. I'm just noting that this kind of flies in the face of that philosophy, which I agree in, generally speaking. But with a trine, that energy synergizes together, meshes together, and then you don't have a teeter-totter for that moment. So possible archetypes of this change energy is the maverick executive, pioneering new paths of success, the the inventor of new traditions, because the earthy folks love traditions, but Uranus doesn't and hates traditions. So ironically, you get both. You get new traditions. Anyway, the eccentric leader inventor, the visionary architect, the maverick executive, or the grounded futurist. I love those energies. And that's the beginning of our full moon day. So there's a lot of kind of upheaval and insight and determination already. But now we have a full moon in Cancer. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say happy birthday to my soulmate, Angie. This is her birthday, and not only her birthday, solar return. This continuum, this full moon continuum, is right smack dab on her natal chart. So her sun is at 23 degrees of Capricorn, and her ascendant is at 25 degrees of Cancer. So even though there's no moon there, it's hitting on a major continuum in her natal chart. So it's a big freaking kung pao for her. If you've got any sort of planets or energies on this 24 degrees of Capricorn or 24 degrees of Cancer, you're going to feel this guardian, illuminated guardian energy a lot more than the rest of us. But the rest of us will feel this energy. It's a full moon as a powerful, energetic culmination of emotional climax because the moon is fully illuminated. There might be some inner turmoil because this is a really unpredictable energy within. It's an energy within. It highlights moon represents emotion. So it's the emotions are at the maximum in her home sign of Cancer. So the presence of Mars then highlights the importance of protecting and even defending that which is cared about. Caring is a big Cancer archetype. Protecting is another one. Now you've got the defender, the defensive coach, the warrior, the defensive warrior of Mars and Cancer. And because this alignment involves a major opposition, that's Sun and a little bit of Pluto, to be honest with you. We're not even going to really talk about that, but that's powerful. It's right at the edge of the orb, but it creates a big energetic channel between four planets. There's a tension because of that between the inner needs described above, the ones we just talked about, protecting, caring, emotional intuition, demands, and the demands of the outer world, such as career, all the Capricorn things, career status, authority, which produces a strong determination across the continuum of caring emotionally versus task-oriented achievement. Why do I feel like I'm stuttering today? All right. With this continuum on this full moon, Monday the 13th, you might feel a dramatic increase about just generally just caring about something or someone or a group or but the point is this feeling of caring about something, heightened awareness of emotional needs, opportunity to confront and heal past wounds or unresolved family dynamics, increased motivation to create a secure and supportive home environment. And here we go with the archetypes: the fierce nurturer defending the sacred space of the heart, or the vulnerable warrior embracing the power of the sensitive. Or more simply, the fierce nurturer, the empowered healer, the resilient caregiver, the defensive warrior, or just the illuminated guardian. There's basically a crab in human form. All right, Tuesday, the 14th. It's not like that energy goes away. You got basically plus or minus 24 hours to really feel the power of those full moon oppositions. But now we introduce on Tuesday the 14th, the Venus square Jupiter goes exact. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the week. But now it's very strong. And this tension between the two is between the desire for emotional connection and idealism and the need for intellectual stimulation. So it's going to be a very verbose, very talkative, very philosophical relationships, but they're also going to be very structured with the Saturn there. There's an added level of restraint and responsibility to this tension. It's a relational contraction in the Pisces side versus intellectual expansion. And that tension produces a energetic perceived need to connect in that manner, structurally, intellectually, expansively, positively, optimistically, but also there can be a little bit of anxiety and fear there, maybe like a separation anxiety, maybe a tinge of that. But the archetypes possible here is the resolute and hopeful romantic. For some of us, it might feel like a hopeless romantic, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be more hopeful than hopeless. But the point is romantic. The wise scholar of the 5 love languages, any sort of model that connects is going to be in this. Disciplined, interpersonal, visionary, the steadfast empath. And then our final day of the CIRF report, Wednesday the 15th, it's the Sun opposed Mars retrograde. It goes exact, 26 degrees, 13 minutes, respectively. And that's at 8:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. This alignment represents a significant tension between the pushing forward, Sun in Capricorn, versus the need for emotional security, nurturing, and home protection, Mars retrograde in Cancer. So therefore, with this opposition, you might feel a greater emotional self-awareness and resilience. There might be an inner conflict between assertiveness and emotional sensitivity, developing the ability to lead others, but with an underlying defensiveness with it. So the archetypes are the compassionate leader guiding the heart and mind. It's bordering on that experiential knowing again. The resilient caregiver, the ambitious nurturer, the sensitive warrior leader, the defensive coach. If you're into football, you might be seeing a lot of emphasis on the defensive side of things, or protecting something like protecting the ball or protecting the quarterback. Those will be highlighted. Introspective achiever and the resilient caregiver. All right, time to button up the influence. We're going to talk about the I-Ching 43, determination, with a change line of 1. Some resolution is pointing to a breakthrough. That's the energy of this. But it suggests a time where clarity, determination, and decisive action are necessary to overcome obstacles. The presence of change line 1 indicates the beginning of this process, where initial steps are taken, but caution and awareness are required due to the potential opposition or misunderstanding at this early stage. I think the stage has been set with this energy, especially in the kind of the global political arena. Major themes is energetically just feeling influentially overcoming obstacles, or needing to overcome them. Caution at the start. Taking command or initiating change, which might be met with resistance. The importance of seeing situations clearly. As far as feelings and thoughts, you might feel this need to be determined. Cautious optimism. Yeah, I've been feeling that. Just like this kind of edge of, boy, I want to have hope, but is that smart to be, cautious optimism, alertness, frustration. I think everyone is paying attention now. Frustration, inner conflict, and curiosity. So let's button up this. And for that, we will go to our solution slide. All right, here's the influence. The full moon in Cancer is conjunct Mars, igniting the Capricorn Cancer continuum of climactic levels of ambitious nurturing. This week is about strong determination and bold emotional confidence, resulting in strong resilience, disciplined protection, and nurturing styles of leadership. In the background, remember, the Sun opposed Mars gradually increases all week, and it's going to keep that illuminated guardian strong all week. Also expect themes of freedom, individual uniqueness, and insightful egoic changes with a couple of earthly trines. That's the Sun trine Uranus mainly, with a I-Ching of 43. All right, with that, I'm going to pause and get us to the solution. I'll be right back. All right, down here, you'll notice that this is where I have the old solution triangulation. I'm going to talk about each one of these separately so you can see the picture, see what we're triangulating for the solution. We're going to start with the I-Ching. Now, the way that I do the intentions of I-Ching is not the traditional. So normally your I-Ching is looking for the change of the energy throughout a certain period. But in this, my specific intention is the first hexagram represents the influence, and then the second hexagram, the change hexagram, will represent the collective's suggestion for how to behave to best navigate this energy. So we got 28, excessive pressure. Extraordinary times bring out the best and worst in people. It's also known as excessive pressure, as the picture depicts, but the behaviors associated with this are recommendations or balance and moderation. That'll be an important part of our triangulation. Adaptability. Decisions should be made with caution, so be careful. Understand and reinforce the support structures in your life. Watch for signs of overload, overtasking, signing up for too much. Don't sign up for too much. And cultivate resilience. All right, next is the rave. And in order to get to the rave, we need to do the conversion chart. And that's how we go from tropical to get our rave mandala, and then we also get sidereal. So we got 62 hexagram, 62 of the rave, and we have sidereal Sagittarius. I'm sorry, Gemini. What the heck? All right, the rave is preponderance of the small. That's the 62 piece right here, line 4, asceticism. The perfect ascetic withdrawal in the pursuit of harmony and simplicity. Doesn't that sound like Mars trine Neptune? It does to me. Where outside dangers do not exist, and there is time to pursue inner meaning and detail that can only be expressed after periods of isolation and reflection. So let's look at the downside, or the decrement. Says, where the detail is organized, isolation as a strategy, waiting for the right opportunity for expression. So if you get the detail, you get the knowing, you get the gnosis, and then you don't do anything about it, that becomes the downside. Right? So it's initially needing to go into isolation to get the details, but then in order to not succumb to the negative side of this rave line, or the I-Ching. The rave is the I-Ching in human design. And so we all know that the I-Ching has, like, it's a continuums. It's not good or bad. It's how the energy shifts and how you use that energy. So we have to go into isolation to get the details. And once you get the knowing about what to do, now you've got the urge to go do it. So anyway, seems confusing, but it's that simple. All right. So then we obviously have Gemini, and Gemini is, really adaptable. It's an air sign, gets along with people, has a social component to it, has a lot of knowledge, thinking, rational thinking. And then you've got the full moon. So we talked about the influence with a sign. The full moon is in tropical Cancer, but we're just looking at just the phase itself and the energy of that phase. And so this one, the best word is really unpredictable. This is the time at which we always have some unpredictability with other people's free will. But the full moon period, is the time of the climax of that unpredictability. It doesn't mean everybody goes crazy, but it just means unpredictability ticks up a little bit. As far as social versus isolation, it really doesn't infer any of that. I'd say 50% of us would prefer to do some alone ceremonial kind of thing in isolation. And then lots of others, 50% or so, would want to be with other people and celebrate with the full moon energy. So it doesn't really dictate one way or the other. All right, now, what I'll do now, didn't really have this coordinated very well. But here is the solution chart. And I don't have just a readout for it. I just have these main bullet points. So the biggest theme across the 4 solutions is the adaptability piece. This is all of them. You really need to be adaptable in the full moon. We've learned that. And the longer you've been alive, the longer you know that. The I-Ching 28 just directly said you need to be adaptable. Sidereal Gemini is adaptable, or you're trying to be adaptable. And then the rave is probably the least related to this, but still you need to adapt to the situation. You need to be able to get the details around it so that you know what to do. Then you have the next overlap is not starting new projects or work. Just work with what you currently have. And that, especially like the full moon, is not the time to stop doing it, but it is a pivot point at which after the full moon, you're going to start to slow down, or you're looking at the last quarter moon to button up your lunar goals that you had earlier in the week. But this is more of a might as well celebrate the work that you have done for your lunar goals. That's another one. But you're not starting big projects, okay? Or starting new projects. Not a good time for that. Look for imbalance in certain areas or lack of structural support and resolve those imbalances. We talked extensively about what those are. Sidereal Gemini does that real well, or could do that real well with the twins. You can go to a polar opposite of the continuum in order to get to balance, and nobody does it better than Gemini. This is an interesting one that came from the I-Ching and the rave, is really reducing complexity both of them talked about it specifically. Reduce complexity, enhance simplicity down to the core values. Now, as far as our overlap and whether or not you should put social effort in, you got one where the Gemini probably says, yeah, it's an air sign, it's pretty social, so that would sway towards social. But number two is really more about going inward or going alone to get the details. And number three, the full moon we already talked about, is neither social or introverted. So it could go either way. So I think socially, overall, it's pretty neutral. It's really up to you. But I think I would refer to item D here, is to look for imbalance socially and shore that up. So if you have been isolated and alone, I think this time of this week is a good time to go out and balance that out socially. If you've been spending a lot of time with other people, maybe it's time to be a recluse. So balance that out. And then we have the continuum here of yin versus yang. And for our energy output, I think it is a little bit more yang, but not completely over here. I mean, the climax of the moon is a yin. It's an extreme yin, but it is balanced out with these things that, like the continuum itself, the opposition, sun oppose the moon, is the illuminated guardian, which in itself is a lot more yang. Even if you're going to be staying at home, that inclination to protect the home, protect the family, protect what you care about, that is more of a yang activity, even though you're not really going outward. You're solidifying anything coming inward. So yang, just a little bit more yang. In summary today, be nimble, prepare for the unpredictable behaviors, simplify your life to your core values, move towards balance. Pretty easy, right? Pretty easy peasy. Should be an interesting week. So refer back to this frequently as needed, but be nimble, prepare for the unpredictable. All right. God bless you guys. Love you. And we will see you next week. Cheers.